We'd like to give special thanks to our supporting sponsor, the University of Maryland Shore Regional Health. We'd also like to thank our supporting sponsors for helping with this production. Chesapeake Bay Live presents the Speaker Series, sponsored by Shore Regional Health. Today's Speaker Series features Julie Slivka from the Maryland Coalition of Families. Today's topic is supporting families of loved ones with substance use issues. Let's see what Julie has to say.
My name is Julie Slivka, and I am a Family Peer Support Outreach Specialist at Maryland Coalition of Families. MCF has been serving Maryland's families for about 20 years now, and we offer family peer support services for families who have loved ones with behavioral health issues. So we work with parents and caregivers of children with mental health challenges, as well as anyone who's being impacted by a substance use disorder or a problem gambling issue. So again, we work with anyone who is being impacted by the substance use issue. It could be a parent, a grandparent, a foster parent, adult child, sibling, even neighbors and coworkers, anyone who is being impacted by the substance use disorder. MCF does serve all 24 of Maryland's jurisdictions. All of our family peer support staff are specially trained and have lived experience as a loved one of someone with a behavioral health issue. So we've walked in your shoes, we've seen the same things, and we know where to turn and what works. MCF also offers Spanish-speaking services, and best of all of MCF's services are completely free and confidential. When it comes to the COVID-19 health pandemic, we know that families are struggling out there. We know that the increased isolation is causing increased depression and anxiety and feelings of despair. But there's a lot of ways that what we do now can impact how we fare in the future, both as families and as a society and as a world. We really need to start working towards implementing protective factors in our children's lives at this moment. We really need to help them build their sense of resiliency, build their sense of community and connectedness. And so that means helping our kids, stay connected with their friends via FaceTime and stay connected with their family members. Make sure that they're calling their family members, writing letters, start pen pal programs. Make sure our kids are practicing self-care. They have a lot of energy. Let them outside as long as it's safe and socially distant. Let them get the jiggles out. Let them explore nature. We do find that interaction with the great outdoors and trees and dirt and the ocean are really beneficial to the overall mental health of individuals. We want to make sure that kids feel integrated in their community and in their school and in their family. So family game nights, maybe there's some after school activities that can be happening virtually right now. We really want to build up those protective factors so we can avoid the negative impacts that the collective trauma as a society that we're experiencing right now. Because we do find from the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experiences study, that childhood trauma before the age of 18 can lead to long-term negative health outcomes, everything from increased likelihood to smoke, do drugs, use alcohol, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity. So what we do with our kids before they turn 18 really does have lasting impacts on their life. And there are ways that we can help them right now despite being socially distant. So my family's personal story with substance use disorders stems from generations. My grandfather, I have 3 uncles who have substance use disorder, and my own father. He is a wonderful man. I'm very, very proud of him. He has come a long way. But it wasn't easy back in the day. There was a lot of trials and tribulations and setbacks, and I really wish I had had a family peer support specialist to help me through that time, to let me know what my options were, what services were available in the area, and really just have someone to lend an ear and share their stories to let me know that I wasn't alone in this journey. I understand firsthand just how frightening and frustrating and unpredictable life with substance use disorder can be in your family. But I just want you to know that I've seen recovery firsthand, and I know that it's possible.
So my name is Allie Miles, and my recovery date is March 30th of 2017. I'm a certified peer recovery specialist at the Talbot County Health Department, and my job is to help guide other people into their pathway of recovery, just like someone did for me. So I believe that I was born an addict. Coming into recovery, I learned that drugs are just a symptom of it for me. Looking back on at an early age, being a kid, I never felt good enough. I never felt comfortable in my own skin. Even today, being in recovery, I cannot feel comfortable in my own skin. But recovery has taught me to love myself. So even as a kid, I didn't feel comfortable. I wanted what the other kids had. I never felt good enough. I never felt a part of. And what it was for me, because I feel like a lot of the times people like to pinpoint, like, because this traumatic event happened, that's why you chose drugs. That's why you're an addict. This event made you an addict. But for me, I feel like I would have been an addict regardless what happened. But the turning point for me was my parents ended up getting a divorce. We found out that my dad had secretly been using drugs and used up all of our money. So I grew up very privileged. I had money, a great family, the American dream, the white picket fence. I had a really good life growing up, and I was a daddy's girl. And, the baby, my sister is not an addict. She's the older sister, and I lost that. So for me, I had no way to cope with all that. And growing up, I got picked on when I was younger too. I never fit in with the other girls. And so when everything with my dad happened, oh, don't hang out with Allie because her dad is on drugs. So I conformed to the scene where the kids were smoking pot. And if you would have told me back then that smoking that joint of weed would have led me down, a rabbit hole of a crippling heroin addiction, I would have told you that you were crazy. So for me, when I first came into recovery, I had no plans of staying in recovery. I did it so that my mom wouldn't kick me out. I did it so that the job would keep me. I did it so that the boyfriend wouldn't leave me. And for me, my story is that you bring the body and the mind will follow. That was me. And people say, oh, you got to do it for you. You got to do it for you. And that's so true. Like, I had to do it for me. But what got me, I didn't want to do it for me at first. But eventually, I stuck and I stayed, and my thinking started to change. So for me, I came into recovery because I didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want my mom to kick me out. I didn't want the man to leave me. I had no intentions of staying in recovery. I did it because I had consequences. And I've learned that sometimes we need consequences to give us that jarring fire up our butt, for me to do something different. So my pathway of recovery was I found a 12-step meeting, and I went to that, and the old phrase goes, bring the body and the mind will follow, and that was my story. Like I said, I had no intentions of staying in recovery, but I kept coming back. I kept showing up. Even when I wanted to use, everyone told me, just take it a day at a time. Don't think about, oh my gosh, I can never do this, 5 years down the line. Like, just for today, I don't have to use, and that's okay. And, eventually that led up to me now having almost 4 years clean. So eventually, I finally got to the point where I wanted to stay in recovery for myself. And today I want it for me, and my life has changed so much since I've been in recovery. Having the job that I do now, I'm a criminal and a drug addict working for the state of Maryland. That's a hope shot to myself. I'm engaged today. I have relationships with other people today, with my family. Because when I was using, my family wanted nothing to do with me. I burned so many bridges in this community with my family and with my job now, I'm able to give back to the community that I once ran havoc in, and that's the powerful and cool thing about recovery, is that we do get a second chance and that we do recover. And I'm not just an addict today, I'm an addict in recovery today. So I like to use the word addict as a powerful word, reclaiming the word addict, because that's who I am, and I'm okay with that today. For so long, I didn't want to accept that I was. I was so stubborn and so hard-headed. I didn't want to look and love me with every flaw and everything that I am. And with me, the disease of addiction, because I believe it is a disease, that curse is turning to a blessing for me today. And even if it's just to help the next person coming in, to help the next girl coming in who shares the same experiences that I do. That's what I live for today, just helping the next person, helping the next young girl that's going through it, because addiction does not discriminate. It's so much more than just using drugs. It's about feelings, not feeling good enough, not loving yourself. And recovery has taught me to learn to love myself today. I can look in the mirror and love Allie right here. The biggest advice that I would give to a new woman coming into recovery is to just give yourself a break, and that it gets better. Just give yourself a break and just hang on. My favorite acronym is the word HOPE, and it stands for Hold On, Pain Ends. And if I could have told myself that, 4 years ago, I would have told you don't know what you're talking about, but it does get better. You just got to give yourself a chance and know that you are worth it. You're more than just a drug addict. You matter, you're special, you are loved. And if you're going through something right now and no one has told you today that they love you, I love you, and I don't even know you.
One of the biggest issues we see when it comes to substance use disorders is that the substance of choice that us family members see as the problem, the active user sees as the solution. And so one thing I like to recommend families to talk about with their loved one is, what emotions are they trying to mask with that substance use disorder? Are they looking for, is there triggers going on? Is it their work? Is it their family? Are they looking for that numbing sensation? Are they looking for that stress relief or that anxiety relief? And really help work with them to find alternatives to get that sense of relief. So it could be a walk in the neighborhood. It could be baking a great meal, maybe taking a bath, some aromatherapy. If they're looking for that altered sense of reality, maybe there's a really cool sci-fi movie that they can lose themselves in. But there are alternatives, and we really want to ask our family members to at least entertain the idea of cutting back. Maybe they can do it 2 times a day instead of 5. Maybe they can do it every other day or just the weekends. Those are all harm reduction techniques that we can use and implement to eventually get us to that level of sobriety that we're looking for. Recovery is hard. There's no way around it. Your loved one is going to need an awful lot of support and love during this time. And they can get that through you, their family member, or their friends, support groups, or peer recovery specialists. And you can help your family member to some extent. I really want all of our family members who are dealing with substance use disorders to remember to protect your mental space. So here at MCF, we work hard with families to define boundaries and explore what enabling versus empowering looks like. We're really big proponents on self-care practices, so really making sure our loved ones are taking care of themselves. I really like the airplane analogy where you need to put your own mask on before helping others, because we know that the better that you take care of yourself, the better you will be able to take care of your loved ones. And so again, MCF is here to support you so you can support them. So again, the most important thing to remember when it comes to substance use disorders is that you are not alone. There are services available, there are resources available, and there are people available that are ready and willing to help you out through this time. MCF does accept self-referrals as well as referrals from community partners, and anyone can make a referral by giving us a call at 410-730-8267 or by emailing us at info@mdcoalition.org. You can always head over to our website, mdcoalition.org. There's a lot of great resources and articles available on there. You can learn more about our advocacy opportunities, our family leadership institutes. We have, again, all those support groups. You can search our list of active family peer support specialists and find one available in your region that you can connect with. So if your loved one is not quite in that action stage and not quite ready to get the help that they need, one thing that we work with parents around is motivational communication. It's another harm reduction technique, but people who are in active use, they oftentimes have a lot of shame and guilt around their substance use. Again, it's a disease, it's affecting their brain, it's oftentimes uncontrollable. So we really encourage our families and loved ones to practice motivational communication. And that means, using strength-based affirmations. I have faith that you can do this. I believe in you. I trust that when the time is right, you'll make the right decision. I love you and I support you. Another thing is asking those open-ended questions. So, really ask your loved one, what does your idea of health look like for you? Where do you want to be in 1 year? And what steps can we take together to get there? Keep those lines of communication open and try to steer away from those close-ended yes or no questions. You really want to get your loved one visualizing what recovery would look like for them, because it will be obtainable when they can actually picture it in their own head. If your loved one is in the pre-contemplation or action stage and they're ready to start treatment, there's a couple options for you here on the Eastern Shore. We have 4 safe stations here on the Eastern Shore. We have 2 in Talbot County, 1 in Wicomico, and 1 in Worcester County. And safe stations are places where individuals who are ready to accept treatment can go and wait in a safe and monitored environment while treatment is arranged. So here in Talbot County, you can always head over to St. Michael's Police Department or the Talbot County Emergency Management Services Department on Port Street, and they would be happy to take you guys in and no questions asked. If they are ready to get treatment, we do have a variety of options here on the Eastern Shore. We have Whitsett Center up in Kent County. Warwick Behavioral Health is down in Dorchester County, Hudson Health Services down in Wicomico. We also have a good number of options over the bridge, and there's actually some places in Delaware and Pennsylvania that accept Maryland insurance. If your loved one exits their treatment services and they still need a little bit of extra support and monitoring, there are still options for them. Take a look at local recovery homes, sober houses, halfway homes. Those are places where everyone who is in them, they have to be monitored. There's no drugs available on site. There are often support groups being held on site. So those are really good options for individuals who exit their treatment and really need a little bit of extra support and monitoring. So here at MCF, we try to use person-first language. So we actually refer to it as substance use disorder. Same way we call people who are in recovery abstinent as opposed to clean, because that connotates that before they were actually dirty. But substance use disorder is a chronic disease that affects a person's brain, and can impact their ability to handle drugs and alcohol in a safe manner. It actually affects the prefrontal cortex and inhibits the person's ability to control their use of drugs or alcohol. We do find that 90% of people who have a substance use disorder did start using drugs or alcohol before the age of 18. And we know that young adults and adolescents, their brains are actively developing until age 26. So early exposure to drugs or alcohol can actually really have long-term impacts on a person's outcomes and brain development, everything from memory and judgment to intellect and all of that. So it's really, really important that we spread the message that early exposure to drugs and alcohol can impact you later on in life. Here in America, 21 million Americans suffer from a substance use disorder. We know that addiction is a family disease. It impacts everyone in the family. So yes, there's 21 million Americans dealing with a substance use disorder, but behind them there are millions, untold millions more of friends and families who are also being impacted by that substance use. In 2019, Maryland's overdose rates actually went down for the first time in over a decade. And that was a great trend that we really hoped to continue. But unfortunately, Maryland's overdose report from the first quarter of 2020 has been recently released, and we are finding that overdose rates are going up. And it's not hard to see why. With the public health crisis that we're all going through, we're all undergoing a collective trauma. Isolation, depression and anxiety are up, there's job loss, there's illness, there's unfortunately death. And some people are just trying to find ways to cope, while other people are really just falling back into bad habits. You know, here at MCF, we get it. We've seen it and we've lived it, and we're here to let you know that you're not alone. If you're finding that your family member or loved one may be using more or starting to drink first thing in the morning, or they're experiencing relationship issues, job loss issues, other issues, it might be time to call MCF. And again, we've been there, we get it, we've walked the same path, we know the resources, we've made mistakes and we've learned from them, and we're ready to share our stories of hope and resilience with you so we can get the help that you and your family needs. So here at MCF, we offer a variety of support offerings. We have one-to-one family peer support services, as well as a variety of virtual support groups. We offer support groups for loved ones who may have unfortunately lost a family member to overdose. We have support groups for problem gambling, support groups for self-care and book clubs, and even one for transitional aged youth, aged 18 to 26, that meets every Thursday night. You can actually find a full list of MCF's free virtual support groups at our website, mdcoalition.org/groups. MCF also offers 2 family leadership training institutes throughout the year. We have our Family Leadership Institute, which is a 6-weekend intensive training, and the Family Leadership Retreat, which is a more abbreviated version of the Family Leadership Institute. It's 2 weekends. During those programs, we connect families to each other. Families are encouraged to share their stories, share their experiences, get resources, and really get empowered on how to better help their families and loved ones. MCF also offers trainings to local businesses, to partners, to families. We offer trainings on adverse childhood experiences, stages of change, Maryland's Good Samaritan Law. We do a lot of training around overdose prevention, recognizing and responding to substance use disorders, as well as Narcan training. And if you are a family that needs Narcan, we can actually supply you with Narcan for free and get you trained on how to use it in case an overdose situation occurs. To illustrate MCF's impact, last year we actually had 4,500 one-to-one support meetings with our families. We helped over 1,800 families in Maryland experiencing substance use disorders. We had over 1,300 families and caregivers attend our various support groups and trainings. And our substance use team, we actually helped facilitate over 150 treatment admissions to substance use clinics. Another option for families are fentanyl testing strips. Now, fentanyl is an increasingly big issue here in Maryland and unfortunately throughout the country. Fentanyl is a synthetic opioid that is 50 to 100 times more powerful than morphine. And we are actually finding that fentanyl is finding its way into cocaine, heroin, even street marijuana, and just a minuscule amount can actually cause an overdose. So there are such things as fentanyl testing strips out there. You can oftentimes buy them online. Again, health departments can sometimes get you hooked up with some, and that will help the active user to test their substance of choice for the presence or absence of fentanyl, which can really help minimize unintentional overdoses. Another point I want to bring up is Maryland's Good Samaritan law, and this is a law that went into effect in 2015, and it provides legal protections for anyone who is actively assisting in the event of an overdose situation. So in the event of an overdose, the person who is actively calling 911, as well as the person who is overdosing, will have legal protection, and their parole and probation cannot be affected, and they cannot be charged, prosecuted, or arrested for possession of drug paraphernalia, or controlled dangerous substances, or even providing alcohol to a minor. We are finding that so many deaths are occurring because people are scared to call 911. But Maryland's Good Samaritan law is here to let you know that you can call 911. You will be protected. Their life is important and you can save their life. So please, please always call 911. Let your family, let your friends know. Get the word out about Maryland's Good Samaritan law because it really does save lives. So here at MCF, we also have a very strong advocacy arm. We're very fortunate to have an amazing director of public policy. Her name is Ann Geddes, and she really helps in letting all of our staff and partners and families know about upcoming legislative policies that have the potential to impact the behavioral health system here in Maryland. Our family peer support specialists and our families who are willing, we offer written and oral testimony at the Capitol where it's relevant. Every year we also offer a really great initiative. It's called Family Day in Annapolis. This past February we had almost 170 families participate, and on that day MCF arranges free transportation from every corner of the state to the Capitol. We have a really great breakfast, and we educate our families and partners who are there about all of the policies that are up and help them and coach them through, their story and how these policies have the potential to impact their loved ones who are in the behavioral health system. We then organize meetings with their state legislators, and our families are encouraged to share their story, share their experiences, and inform their legislator as a constituent how they should be voting, how those laws and policies are actually impacting them, in an effort to really hopefully improve the behavioral health system here in Maryland and really identify those gaps and barriers and funding challenges, and really give a voice to the families who are going through the behavioral health system and seeking for ways to improve it, to better streamline access to services, especially in rural communities like here on the Eastern Shore. To find out more about MCF's advocacy opportunities and the annual Family Day in Annapolis, please feel free to head on over to our website at mdcoalition.org. Here at MCF, we get it. We've been there and we can help. And remember, recovery is possible.